This edition of My Thoughts Monday is brought to you by Valve Performance, the team behind the Nordboard, Force Decks, the Groin Bar, and Human Track. Guys, the most important ability for all of our athletes is availability, and that's the absolute goal of Valve Performance, is to provide solutions to performance professionals so that we can get the right information to make the right decision at the right time for the betterment of the athletes that we get to work with. To do this, guys, they have a wide range of validated products that focus on usability, and having being founded by the School of Exercise and Nutrition Sciences at the Queensland University of Technology, they're extremely evidence-based and they're beyond transparent. I can tell you that our time using the Nordboard and being involved with Force Decks, we have been introduced to so many amazing people that have truly helped us become better coaches, have a better understanding, not just of the technology, but also what we're doing with our athletes. So make sure you hop over to valveperformance.com today to make sure you check out what they got. It's going to make you better and to do better by your athletes. The world of strength and conditioning is filled with some awesome practitioners who are always trying to evolve and continue to grow professionally throughout their career. The problem with many of us, though, is finding a new outlet, a new way, and a new perspective on the questions that we may have, whether it be programming, whether it be situational with dealing with coaches, or whether it be career advice. Because all too often what happens is we get stuck in with the same group of friends and the same group of colleagues that we reach out to for advice repeatedly over and over again. But what we should really be looking for is different perspectives, different people who have been through different situations who can help us make better decisions both for ourselves and our athletes. And one awesome place to start with that is the forums in the Strength Coach Network. In the forums in the Strength Coach Network, you'll be able to reach out and get feedback, input, and advice from coaches from all over the world. From everything from career advice to training modalities to programming, there's people there just for the same reason as you are, to try to get better, to learn, to share information, and to grow the field of strength and conditioning. So hop on over to strengthcoachnetwork.com/CVASPS. That's strengthcoachnetwork.com/CVASPS to dive into all that great content today and get your 48-hour trial for only $1. I look forward to seeing you in the Strength Coach Network. Hey, what's happening, everybody? Jay DeMeo coming at you with this week's edition of My Thoughts Monday. And today I would like to continue going down through the presentations we had here at FREE-VASPS and talk a little bit about the absolutely awesome talk that Emma Beanland put on for us at FREE-VASPS. This was Emma's second time presenting for us, and it was sensational. And we really could just sit here and talk about, the complex simplicity of what she was doing with the numbers and how they are looking at things, and the whole ideas of floors and ceilings and how we can do better with that when looking at not just your acute to chronic stuff, but really what your thresholds and your highs and lows really are and things of that nature. But I really want to talk about something that I think is more across the board when it comes to what we do in this field of performance, and that is the idea that she brought up that there are still people that believe that the implementation and use of different technologies, the primary goal of that is to do less work, is to pull the athletes back, is to get them to do less stuff less often. And the reason I want to talk about that is because I think that that's really frightening. I think that that's something that is, if it's still the case, which it is, because I wouldn't doubt that in the least bit, what that tells me is we've done a really, really poor job of not just communicating what the actual information is and is showing us, but we've done a poor job when it comes to implementing it. For a while, there was big data was super sexy, right? Like everybody was jumping out and you were putting heart rate monitors and GPS straps and readiness monitoring and sleep monitoring and nutrition monitoring and subjective and objective and RPE and wellness and all these things all at once. And then all of a sudden, like the housing bubble, it blew up a little bit, right? Like it was just like people were collecting too much, doing too much, and not acting on it. Hey, I could tell you a story about it myself, how we probably were doing too much, albeit we were probably doing pretty well with the information, I think, if I can say so myself, but communication wasn't great. Now, there were some limiting factors in this, that, and the other with all that, but that doesn't matter. What matters is the program kind of fell apart. And that's what leads to these sort of ideas, that really what we're trying to do is just do less, and hold the kids back, and do all this stuff. So that does worry me a bit, because I think that we are still in a state where the profession in and of itself is completely new, right? It's so young that now we're trying to throw in all of these new gadgets and gizmos that do all of these great things and can help us perform better, do better, help the coaches better, be better for the athletes, yada, 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 right? But here's the issue. We have to remember that the first thing that we need with this technology is a question that we wanted to answer, right? Like if we aren't sitting here and selecting what we need to use to better have ways to answer the questions we have, then all we're doing is sitting there running around trying to chase our tail with something. And that I can tell you from firsthand experience is something that can throw a huge curveball in what you're doing. You got to know what questions, not just you need answered, okay, as the strength coach, but what questions do the team need answered, the sport coach, the players, sports medicine. Because the more people you can get involved in the monitoring, tracking, readiness, whatever system you're utilizing, the more success you're going to have with it, because you're going to have more people working together to have conversations, drive better decisions, make alterations, and things of that nature. The other thing then is, I think that all too often when we do get started with these things, we get a little worried about answering different questions. Charlie Weingroff said it great, that we need to be looking for the answers to the questions we don't have yet. So once we start peeling back the onion and understanding what some of these answers, if you may, because we know that none of them are going to be like hard answers to the questions we have, well, then what other questions can you answer? What can you do better because of that? And then I think that the last thing that we really need to talk about is the whole idea of needing to do less. At times, I'm sure, is what we all would think, right? Like there are going to be days where subjective wellness was way down. We might want to talk to the team and see about some alternatives for some things. Or RPEs have been way up. We might want to take a look at some things. But at the end of the day, right, our job is to increase performance. And one of the things we need to do for them to increase performance is increase the athlete's resiliency to stress. You cannot increase the athlete's resilience to stress if you don't stress the athlete. These things can be super for you to be able to do the exact opposite and put the pedal down on days. To have a better idea of how you can structure those days to put the pedal down. And how you can know, at least at having a better idea of what days are the best days to do that. Because we also know, right, that there have to be days that are hard and not as hard. There have to be days where we increase a little bit more, where we do a little bit more, where we get a little bit better, so that we can increase our resilience to stress. If all we're looking for is ways to pull back, no one is ever going to get better. Now, are there situations where maybe just being fresh is the best thing for the athlete? Certainly. An athlete that's fresh is going to perform at a higher level. An athlete that's fresh is going to be able to be more resilient because they're not fatigued. So there's not going to be as high of an issue when it comes to, overreaching or injury risk, right? But if we haven't pushed them, if we haven't put them in a situation to be under a high amount of stress, what is going to happen then in competition when they need to be in those high areas of stress? And I think that that's where we can be better, is understanding that these pieces of technology, readiness is green. Today's the day we need to go. We need to push. We need to pick it up. We need to run faster, harder, throw more, lift heavier, something to get better. It's a high day, and our tracking numbers are set, and we know what we need to do. Okay, we need to make sure we're hitting max velocity for X number of reps or Y number of distance. We need to be exposing them to these higher outputs so that they are better in the long run. We need to stop using these things as kind of like safety nets and use them to drive us to be better, more precise, and more accurate with what we're doing. There's a difference between pulling back and not training and providing the training stimulus at the right time. And that's where these technologies need to help us. So yeah, are there going to be days where you need to back off? Yep. Are there going to be days where we may need to talk to the coaching staff or the sports medicine staff about maybe making some alterations to the plan because kids may be tired, fatigued, stressed, whatever? Of course there is. Does that mean that that's the only reason you should have these pieces of technology, or the primary reason you should have these pieces of technology? And my answer to that is absolutely not. We all need to be on the same page. We all need to understand what these questions we're trying to answer and how we're trying to be better for the athletes and the coaching staff so that we can drive performance better. We can't just use them as a way to mask and kind of hide, for the kids to have to put out effort. All of us need to be better with that. I'm going to try to be better with that, with what we're doing with our staff and our players, because the fact that this is still being brought up, it means that we're not doing well when it comes to our understanding of what it is, our communication of how we can use it better, and our implementation of it. So, would love to hear, especially during this time with quarantine and all that, how you've changed these things, how you've impacted these things, how you've looked to be better with these things, because I think that, whatever you have been doing or were doing, we all should probably be doing something a little different when we come out on the other side of this. So, as always, I truly appreciate everything you all do for us here at Central Virginia Sport Performance. We'll be back next week with another My Thoughts Monday. I will see you then.